pleasure to introduce the group Bonplay.
A la mar se fue el
viento,
tíralo a la mar,
viento,
déjalo a la mar,
viento,
vuélveselo a la mar,
viento,
camina sobre la mar,
viento,
quiere tú a la mar,
viento,
ama tú a la mar,
viento,
viento, viento, viento,
viento,
ríe viento,
viento,
ríe viento,
viento,
llora viento,
viento,
juega viento,
viento,
canta viento,
viento,
camina viento,
viento,
viento, viento,
viento,
camina sobre la mar,
viento,
devuélveselo a la mar,
viento,
quiere tú a la mar,
viento,
ama tú a la mar,
viento, 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 viento,
viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, viento, juega viento, viento, ríe viento, viento, llora viento, viento, canta viento, viento, baila viento,
viento,
juega viento,
viento,
viento, viento,
viento,
viento, viento,
viento, viento,
vamos ya mismo,
viento, 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 viento,
wow,
viento.
bomba.
Hi, welcome to Entre Nosotros on CCP TV, the educational channel of Community College Philadelphia. I'm your host, Alberto Gonzalez. My guest today is Alberto Pagan Ramirez. Bienvenido, welcome.
Thanks for inviting me.
Well, let's jump right into it. I just want to, first I'd like to know, how did you get to Philadelphia? Where you're from? Where's your family from?
I'm originally from Ponce, Puerto Rico. And 17 years ago, I moved to the northeast part of the United States, first into New Jersey, the Trenton area, for different reasons. First of all, to look for a job over here. Second, to eventually pursue what I originally planned in Puerto Rico after I finished my bachelor degree, which was to do a PhD, to study a master or PhD. Also, because I wanted to improve the English, because I realized at that point that Puerto Rico was still invaded by the United States, and it wasn't going to change. And then the English was more and more important in Puerto Rico. It was becoming more important, and to compete, with English speakers, I needed to learn the language, to learn more the language. And also because in a way I was kind of upset with politics in Puerto Rico, with all the negative things that happens in politics in Puerto Rico. People waste a lot of time in little fights, nonsense fights over things that are, doesn't make sense. Especially the status quo of Puerto Rico, the status which, administrators, governors, and administrators, they don't do their job, which is administering the country, and they spend more time just fighting about the status that hasn't changed in 100 years, 100 and something years. So I was upset with a lot of things that were happening there. And because also I kind of like to travel. I wanted to experience to live in a different place. And at that time, and I was here a couple of times for short periods of time, like visiting and doing or studying a little bit. And then definitely this time I decided to stay and try in a different place.
And what made you stay in Philadelphia?
When I moved here, I started to work as a chemist because I'm a chemist. That's what I was doing in Puerto Rico. I found out me jobs in the New Jersey area. Then eventually I actually got a job in chemistry around in Philadelphia. Then I got another one back in New Jersey. So, I traveled here. I think the first time I came here, I'm not sure what the first time was just for that interview. Eventually, while I was in New Jersey, that I was knowing the place, and I was looking for things, events, things that were happening. As I was experiencing having my cultural clash with the people of this country, I started to realize that I wasn't that welcome at all, as welcome as I thought that I would be, and start to see how things are. Started to being by myself, no family here. Started to feel lonely, looking for culture, looking for people that speak Spanish, things that were culture. So in Trenton, I've started to walk around the neighborhood, and I saw a couple of businesses, Latino businesses, and then I would visit, and then I would find newspapers most of them were published here in Philadelphia. And I, saw Philadelphia here, Philadelphia there, and then I just said to myself, what's Philadelphia? What's going on there? And then when I looked at the map of the northeast part of the United States, that I see Trenton as a small city where I was, and then I saw this big city in the south. And wow, that's a big city. What's happening there? And that was Philadelphia. And then I saw all these newspapers with Philadelphia. I said, well, something have to happen there. And I remember seeing the ad for Centro Musical. And when I decided to travel, I took my car and I drove to Philadelphia. And I drove to Philadelphia looking for Centro Musical.
Wow.
And I never found it, actually. Because the ad said, Fifth Street, but they were already on Lehigh Avenue.
Okay.
And I just passed them, and I never, but, eventually later on, I saw another ad for something that was happening, an event that was happening, some kind of a cultural event that was happening at a place called Taller Puertorriqueño. And then I just came for that one. And then I noticed that there were, cultural Latino, Puerto Rican and Latino cultural events happening there. And then I went to that one, then I went to the next one, and then I found a place to go. And soon after, I volunteered at Taller Puertorriqueño for a program that we were doing there. And later on, I kept coming. I permanently moved to Philadelphia, and then I kept coming to Taller Puertorriqueño and other events that were happening around, festivals, and eventually became part of the board, became a member of the board of Taller Puertorriqueño. Now, I now remember something very special that happened to me one of those first years that I came here, and people should know this. One day I was in the neighborhood in North Philadelphia when the Puerto Rican parade was happening. I don't know, maybe I heard about it, and I came to the neighborhood to see that. And I have to remember this, and I have to say this. I was shocked to see so many Puerto Rican flags. Never in my life I've seen so many Puerto Rican flags anywhere, not even in Puerto Rico. And I really felt, and this is something I have to share, I have to remember, that I felt very proud to be Puerto Rican at that moment. And I felt proud of the people of Philadelphia for doing that, which I never saw in my own Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Because in Puerto Rico, there's a lot of fights among Puerto Ricans for being part of the United States or not being part of the United States, and blah, 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 blah. And many Puerto Ricans would never raise the flag of their own country.
Wow. But that's one of the reasons that been trying to get you on my shows for so long is because you bring with your music, which I got to find out later. You went from chemist to musician. I mean, that's probably another show. But you give this city and really the Puerto Rican community its pride, and you give other people the chance to know what it is, what beautiful music comes from Puerto Rico. So tell me a little bit about the music. How did you get into the music?
Well, in Puerto Rico, I studied music at two schools of music. But in those two schools of music, we concentrated on band music, and the second school was on orchestra music, classical music. And then I played drum set too, and I actually played at a rock band in Puerto Rico for a little while. But I didn't work on the Puerto Rican music per se, because as I mentioned before, Puerto Ricans don't really appreciate their own culture enough. Probably a small group would, are very proud of their culture. Some are totally like against their culture, and many are like, so-so. I would say like so-so, very distant. And ironically, people don't teach that music, bomba and plena, and even jibaro music. You don't find places that they teach that. Like many places that we should be. And when I moved over here, and then that I had this clash, cultural clash, language, everything, discrimination, all the things that happen when you go to a different place and a place like this, I noticed that, a lot of the same things that happen in Puerto Rico were happening here, that Puerto Ricans didn't promote their culture enough. And again, this music, nobody would teach this music. And then I saw a small group of people led by Joaquin Rivera that were working on the plena. And then when they had an event, they would play plena. Many events that happen in different places, including Taller Puertorriqueño. So the leader there was Joaquin Rivera. And then, he would invite anybody that used to be at that group, and, they would give a pandero to somebody to play. They were sharing the pandero, singing, doing the whole thing. And one of those events, I was there. Ironically, I remember that the one that gave me the pandero was a guy that did a PhD, a Puerto Rican from the island that did a PhD in Penn, in anthropology. I remember he's, tall guy, he gave, play this, and he just gave me the pandero. And then I started to play with them there. Wow. And because I was a drummer already, so it was easy for me to catch a beat, a simple beat. And then I started to play there. And then every time I would go to one of the events, I would just play with them, And then Joaquin started to invite me to his shows. He actually invited me to his shows, and then I did a lot of shows with Joaquin, even though I wasn't part of the group, official member of the group. Wow. So he would invite me to go, and then I started to play plena on the spot, which that's the way many people learn. But then it started to bother me the fact that, like I said before, nobody teaches this, and people don't take it seriously because in general, Puerto Ricans don't take their culture very seriously. Many Puerto Ricans don't. And then at some point is that I realized that this is an extraordinary music. It's a wonderful music.
Beautiful.
Why people don't, appreciate it more? Why don't we have schools, places where people are teaching this and working this music? And that's why, and that's how I decided to start to teach plena 13 years ago. And soon after, I started to learn bomba too. And then soon after, I started to teach bomba too.
Now, at the beginning of the show, we saw bomba. Could you introduce the next song that's coming up, and then after that we can compare, because some people say when bomba plena, but it's really, that's not the way it should be said.
Yeah, that's a problem, because people tend to say bomba and plena, like they're talking about one kind of music, like rhythm and blues, that is one kind of music. But bomba is one kind of music, and plena is a different kind, and they're very different. They married those two words and they got into the confusion that is the same thing, but they're totally different. Plena is an urban music. It's a music that was born in the city of Ponce, in a poor neighborhood in Ponce, called La Joya del Castillo, and people play with what is called a pandero. It's a hand drum that looks like a tambourine, but it's not a tambourine at all, and you don't play like a tambourine. It's totally different. And I started with two drums, and then somebody would make up a song, right on the spot. Usually plena, people started to sing about things that happen in the neighborhood or in the town or in the country. Mm-hmm. And that's how plena started, really, among the people themselves. Somebody grab a pandero one way or another, somebody made it up. Original panderos were made of metal, actually, which many people don't know this. And then just a skin, goat skin. That's what you put there, same skin that you put on the barril, but it sounds totally different. So, and this song is called Tumbador y Campana. And tumbador is the big drum in the plena, the big pandero, is the tumbador, and campana is the bell. But in this song, because with limitations of space, we don't have a bell. Mm-hmm. So the song is celebrating, this plena song is celebrating the tumbador and the campana in the music of plena.
Wow. All right, introduce it first, please.
And with you, tumbador y campana, by Bonplé.
Pandero. Ay, mamá, yo no sé cómo suena el tumbador, cómo suena la campana. Ay, mamá, yo no sé cómo suena el tumbador, cómo suena la campana. Si en comparsa de plena formamos un bembé, prueba con el tumbador, combina con la campana. Ay, mamá, yo no sé cómo suena el tumbador, cómo suena la campana. Ay, mamá, suena tumbador, como suena la campana. Castiga bien los cueros, luego les diré que repique de campana nos da aquí Bonplé. Ay, mamá, yo no sé cómo suena tumbador, cómo suena la campana. Ay, mamá, yo no sé cómo suena tumbador, cómo suena la campana. Cómo suena el tumbador, cómo suena la campana. Con Bonplé y con mis panas. Cómo suena la campana. Seguimos tocándola hasta mañana. Cómo suena la campana. Y suena la aquí Bonplé. Cómo suena la campana. Cómo suena el tumbador. Cómo suena la campana. Cómo suena la campana. La 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 la. Cómo suena la campana. La 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 la. Cómo suena la campana. La 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 la. Cómo suena la campana. La 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 la. Cómo suena la campana. La 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 la. Cómo suena la campana. Ay, mamá, yo no sé cómo suena el tumbador.
Great. That was beautiful. That was just simply amazing. Now, you talked about, so tell me a little bit about the differences again, but also tell me about the barril.
The barril.
Because that was like just an amazing fact about the barril. It's an original instrument from Puerto Rico.
From Puerto Rico, yeah. Bomba is a unique music to Puerto Rico. There are cousins, far relatives of bomba in Dominican Republic, in Peru, in Colombia, Venezuela. But the way it sounds, the song, everything, the rhythms, the exact rhythms are unique, different, to anybody else. And so the bomba, there's no bomba the way it is nowhere else. And the drums are totally unique too. Bomba drums are handmade. They have been, handmade since the beginning. The first bomba drum was just somebody, probably a descendant of a slave or a slave, that saw a barrel, rum barrel, sitting there, standing somewhere, and thought about, well, if we put a skin to that, we can make a drum. Somebody made the connection, you know, with the drums that they would do with the hollow trunk, tree trunk, back in Africa, and you know that has the same shape of a hollow tree trunk. All you have to put a skin there, and then you know it started to play. So somebody came up with that idea. All you need to do is to put a skin, and then you will get a drum. And then that's what happened. You know,
Are they still made that way today?
original barriles are made of barrels, rum barrels in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
So all they do, rum barrel is really big. It's like about this size, this width, about this tall. And what they do, they disassemble it. They cut the pieces of wood, and they put them together with less pieces, and they make it smaller, like the size that you saw there. And they just put a goat skin, and we have a drum.
You are the founder and director of an amazing place called the Instituto Puertorriqueño
de Música.
de Música. And I love the name. It just, you know, because it's the Instituto Puertorriqueño, Instituto of Puerto Rico. That would be the translation in English?
Puerto Rican Institute of Music.
Puerto Rican Institute of Music. What's the whole principle behind this project?
When I was teaching, when I started to teach 13 years ago, bomba, plena, and bomba, and I would advertise, you know, in the newspapers, Latino newspapers, the classes. I got many calls of people asking for classes, for guitar, for singing, for piano, and I realized that there was a need of music classes. And I kind of kept that in my mind, and that was repeating, you know, again and again and again. It was coming again, all these calls, all these people asking. And while I was all those years, I was teaching in places that I would borrow. And eventually, I was looking, you know, for a place with a good location to have my bomba and plena classes there. But then I realized that, you know, I should do something bigger. And because I had the background in music, you know, in music education and in education, I mean, I said to myself, well, I need to create a school, just a musical school. And then, and the difference between this school and other schools is that here, Puerto Rican music is a protagonist too, not just, you know, not in the panorama. So. Bomba and plena, we work bomba and plena. I have a trovadora actually. We teach people how to do trova music, but also we teach all kind of instruments and all kind of music. So it's a school of music. Wow. Where we actually give more importance to music from Puerto Rico. So the music of Puerto Rico is as important as any other music.
And really, there is no place, I don't think, in the region that teaches bomba or plena, or what are the other forms of music that comes from Puerto
Música
Rico?
jíbara, or jíbaro music,
music.
Mountain music, has different names in Spanish. Música típica.
And how is the community receiving it?
Some people were shocked with the name, actually. It's ironic, the question that some people didn't like the name.
Really?
Because
it's Puerto Rican.
Well, because you put the word Puerto Rican there. And some people have a problem, political issues with that, you know, using the word Puerto Rican or Puertorriqueño. But a lot of people were happy, you know. People started to adopt it, you know.
Do you think it's okay to have a Cuban institute, Dominican Institute of Culture? I mean, and
yeah, there should be an institute of every culture, because every culture, every country is important. They have their own, you know, when you have a country, you have a group of people with a land and with an identity. And you have to respect that. It's a nation, is what's called a nation. And nation has to be respected.
Mm-hmm. You know, if people understand Puerto Ricans, their culture, their music, where it comes from. I mean, like the Barril story is like, it just shows you like how working people can really create something that is so unique and beautiful. I think that with that, I mean, I hope breaks some of the racial barriers down, you know, and I think that's what's great about the Institute.
I think that, yeah, that's what is supposed to happen, you know, not to divide people. It's just to show people who we are in reality. I listen to music from different parts of the world. I love my bomba, I love my plena, I love my música jíbara, but I love flamenco too. I love vallenato. So you just fall in love with music. Music don't have really boundaries.
Right.
I think we put the boundaries, we put the limitations. Music is for everyone. We created bomba in the way that we develop as a nation, as a country. But the music, once you make music, it's for everyone.
Last number we're going to listen to, and I want you to introduce it and just briefly tell me something about it. It's something that's poem by you.
It's part of what is called poesía negroide, which is a phenomenon of poetry that has a lot of African influence. The accents, the words, the themes, everything is African, Afro-Caribbean. Afro-Caribbean from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Cuba. So this kind of music, this kind of poetry was developed in the Caribbean by different poets. This poem in particular is from Luis Pales Matos, which is one of the most important poets in Puerto Rico overall, and he's important in Poesía Negroide too. And it's called Majestad Negra, and it's celebrating blackness in Puerto Rico and the whole Caribbean. It's talking on the wonderful things about being Afro-Caribbean black in the Caribbean.
Por la encendida calle antillana va, tembandumba de la quimbamba. Rumba, macumba, candombe, bámbula. Rumba, macombe, candombe, bámbula. Entre dos filas de negras caras, ante ella un congo, gongo y maraca. Ritma una conga bomba que bamba, y culipandeando la reina avanza, y de su inmensa grupa resbalan meneos cachondos que el Congo cuaja en ríos de azúcar y de melaza. Prieto trapiche de sensual zafra, el caderamen, masa con masa, masa con masa. Exprime ritmos, suda que sangra, y la molienda culmina en danza. Por la encendida calle antillana va, tembandumba de la quimbamba, flor de tortola, rosa de Uganda. Por ti crepitan bombas y bámbulas, por ti en calendas desenfrenadas quema la antilla su sangre rángiga. Haití te ofrece sus calabazas, fogosos rones te da Jamaica. Cuba te dice, dale mulata, y Puerto Rico, melao, melamba. Sus, mis cocolos de negras caras, tronad tambores, vibrad maracas. Por la encendida calle antillana, rumba, macumba, candombe, bámbula, rumba, macumba, candombe, bámbula, rumba, macumba, candombe, bámbula, rumba, macumba, candombe, bámbula. Va, tembandumba de la quimbamba.
That is all the time we have today. I would like to thank my guest for joining me, and I would like to thank you for tuning in. You have been watching Entre Nosotros on CCP TV, the educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. I'm your host, Alberto Gonzalez. See you next time.